Pleasant good evening and welcome to 2022. Is it 2022? We left 2021, right? So 2022. It is January 4th. I know you haven't seen me for a hot minute. The Carnival Ref Live will return. Guys, it will return sometime, someday near you, coming near you, right? But tonight, we're going to talk about something that I think we all want to talk about, that I definitely want to talk about: building Caribbean wealth. Like seriously, like for the longest time, I want to figure out new ways to continue to build my wealth. You know, you have your business, you have your side hustle, but there's a lot more we can do. And we're not just talking about fly-by-night wealth, we're talking about generational wealth, like keeping this in the family that will go on to your kids, your grandkids, and everybody will be set for years to come. So we have a special guest. In fact, we have a couple special guests because joining my panel will be co-founder of Trini Stephen Choo, Quan, and a brethren, a entrepreneur, a businessman, goes by the name of Upscale. And our special guest, who I will introduce, but after I bring on, which if he's ready, I'll bring on Stephen first, and then we'll just get things swinging. So 1 second. Greetings.
Yes, family. How things?
Good. I'm glad to get things sorted out. So without further ado, are you ready? Are you have anything to say for the people as new here, or I have to introduce our special guest?
Well, first of all, Happy New Year to everybody, right? And also, excuse the attire, and I kind of rushing in here. I just put the kids to bed, and it is, but I'm really happy and excited to be here in the new year, and really happy and excited to be here with you tonight.
So why are we talking generation wealth though, and especially building Caribbean wealth? You project this whole thing. So are you excited about what we're going to talk about tonight?
You know what? In so many ways, yes, because when we started even talking about Caribbean rich, right? For me, and this is just me personally, I thought the word rich really means abundance, right? And I thought to myself, if you have to have an abundant life and to have that total happiness, you needed to have a balance between wealth, health, and love. But I realized very quickly that you can't have any one of them without, if you have two, the third one will fail. If you have love and you have money, you may not have your health. And without your health, you can't be happy. If you have wealth and you have love, but then you don't have money, then it's really hard to really enjoy, So you need some kind of base for wealth. And I think that prompted, especially with this and the pandemic, it really got us thinking, you know what? We've done fairly well over the years, and we know people who have done really well over the years. And I think it's only right for us to be able to share that with people. I think a lot of people enjoy the fact that we could share with them the things that we've learned along the way, and people really enjoy that. So it's my humble blessing that I'm able to be here tonight and be able to share that with you.
Wicked. Well, we here at Trini Jungle Juice, we always say we have no time to waste. We just want to get straight into it. And our special guest goes by the name of Tiffany Gray. She is the founder and broker of T.A.M.G Realty, Inc., located out in Smyrna, Georgia. My old stomping ground, by the way. I was in Smyrna, Georgia, years ago. So I know about the they don't say the ATL anymore, or is it Hotlanta? That's like Hotlanta is like way back in the day. I think they just bought the A-Town. Tiffany brings 20 years of experience in commercial and residential real estate with a specialty in commercial finance, which we'll talk more, of course. And over the course of her career, she has overseen real estate transactions in excess of, now, ladies and gentlemen, if I'm reading this correctly, she told me $1 billion, right? And rapidly growing. So as an entrepreneur, Tiffany is always looking forward for ways to support her clients achieve, the American, or in this time, we will just say for this show, we'll say the Caribbean dream of owning their own home. And through a pioneering a new program, which, called the Investors Club, and you'll hear more about it as we, bring on later on. She trains people in the art of creating generational, which is the key word, wealth through fixing and flipping, right? Fixing and flipping. Not what is that show I was watching? That house channel. Was it Flip or Flop? So we will get into that more. So Tiffany's father, and this is key part, right? Because when we're talking about Caribbean wealth, Tiffany's father is from Trinidad, her mom from Jamaica, and she went to school in Jamaica. So she has a tie to the West Indian community. And, that's why we're talking about building. So we're going to bring her on and talk about building wealth through real estate, building Caribbean wealth. So without further ado, let's get Tiffany Gray.
Hello.
Welcome to the
Hello,
show.
everyone.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Good night.
Year.
Night.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Tiffany, you look fantastic. I love you here.
Thank you.
Yes, beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for taking the time out to be with us here tonight. We're really excited to have you. And the wealth of experience that you bring is like phenomenal.
Thank you.
I want to just get down to it, Stephen. Fire away some questions. We need to know.
The very first thing, right? Like when we think about wealth, there are multiple ways to build wealth, right? And as people go along, they're going to be generating, a lot of people are in jobs and they're generating income. Also, some people play in the stock markets and, you have your portfolio income and so on. But one of the key ways to generate wealth, right, in your portfolio, we all know is real estate.
Yes.
And it's something that I've been talking to Andrea about for a while. So how is it that you got into real estate? Like what it is that got you started to take this journey?
Oh, you want me to go way back then?
Yeah. What was it? What was your why? Why did you get into real estate?
My why. Okay. So I got into real estate. Okay, let me just go back from the beginning, right? So don't judge me, guys. But I used to sell Kirby vacuum cleaners.
Nice.
So I used to go door to door. I was like the number one door knocker, the number one salesperson in my area. So I used to sell Kirby vacuum cleaners. And I went to this particular home. They let me in. It was big and beautiful home in California because, of course, I was raised in California. So I went to this beautiful home and I'm like, you know what? I think I'm on the wrong side of this thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I want to own a big home. I want my family to have a big home. I want to help my family out. How can I make this possible, right? And
it's so interesting that you said that because when I talk to a lot of people, they always talk about generational wealth. They want to make money for not only for themselves, but for their kids and for their grandkids.
Yes.
And did you have the same feeling?
Yes, the same feeling because it was like about my family. It wasn't just, I want a big house. It was, I need to get a house for my mom, my sisters, my brothers, like, my family. So it was all about my family. So I went to the library and I got this book called Rags to Real Estate Riches. And I read that book and it had a lot of tips, right? But I'm like, how do I get started? Credit, I don't know nothing about credit. I didn't know a lot of things. So I had to try to build it out. I didn't have role models back then. So I kind of learned everything from scratch, from trials and tribulations. So my why, so since it took me forever, I'm like, how can I help my people? How can I help others accomplish the dreams without starting like a novice, if that makes sense?
I hear you. Yeah.
So that's how it all started. I was 18 years old.
Okay. So, that brings up a really interesting point because a lot of us, we want to get started in real estate, right? But we don't quite know where to begin. So if somebody was new and interested in real estate, what would you say? What advice would you have for somebody wanting to start out in real estate?
Well, my advice is let's look at your credit. Know about credit because we're gonna play for the long game, right? We're not gonna play the short game. I know it's a lot of lenders out there that don't care about credit, and there's things that you can get in real estate that you don't really have to have great credit. However, if you're building generational wealth, you got to play for the long haul, right? So I would say no credit. Credit is the key. The credit is the key. I know in the Caribbean world, we're not really taught about credit. We're not taught that, oh, let's get this on credit. That's kind of like a more so American thing, right?
Exactly.
So let's
And I was
dive in
about
a
to say
little
that
bit there.
if I'm in Trinidad and we don't do stuff, we don't have credit history, and if you're in Jamaica, you don't have credit per se like how it is in in America.
Yes.
Are they left out, or they have to figure out a way? Could you live in like Trinidad and still build credit in America to be able to become a potential investor?
Absolutely. I mean, it's different loans out there, especially like foreign nationals. So you can live in a different country and still build wealth in America and build your credit here in America.
And for anybody who's starting out that may suffer from credit history, what advice do you have for them? And also, how do you assist people who may struggle with credit?
I definitely assist people that struggle with credit. The advice is, let me take a look at your credit. I could break it down. I'll help you read credit. I help you understand credit. I help you get your credit to the score that it needs to be. And sometimes it can happen in 60 days, or it may take a year, depending on what's on your credit, or if you don't have credit. Of course, if you don't have credit, you have a clean slate that will be easier to get you to the closing table. And if you do have credit, but you kind of didn't know what to do, so it's not the best, I can help you clean it up.
Okay. So let's say I wanted to start with a small piece of property, and this is my first property. What is a ballpark figure for credit that I would probably need?
650.
Because
you want to have leverage. So you don't want to start at the bottom. Like, yes, you can get approved if you have a 580. There's some lenders out there. But if you have 650, you have more leverage that, okay, you could talk to this lender and Tom over there. And if this lender is offering you, let's say, a 4%, but right now the going rates are in the 3%, you have that leverage to say, okay, well, I'm going to go over here. Can you beat this rate?
You're actually bringing up a word that I love to use a lot. And I think Dre probably is like, oh no, here comes that word again. Can you tell us that word leverage? What does it mean to you? And what exactly can the word leverage mean as it applies to real estate?
Well, leverage mean not being in a particular box, having options. Right? Options, so you could make the best decision for you and your family. It means in real estate, you have leverage. You have leverage to buy two properties depending on your credit score. You have leverage to even, like, let's say if you're fix and flipping a property, right? And 3 contractors. That's leverage.
Yes.
And let's say you have, your friends that has real estate. You could leverage that. Meaning, okay, look, if you give me a deal, I could refer you to X, Y, and Z. That means you'll make more money in the long run if you're able to give me a discount today.
I see. Can you tell us about a time when you have used leverage to actually pump up your revenues?
Oh, I use leverage all the time.
Give us an example. Give us a real life story. You know what people love? They could read articles. They could read magazines. But you know what? The real touch and feel of our human interaction and what we have here tonight and being able to share that with everybody is what everybody loves.
Okay, let's see a real life story.
I know I'm actually asking you to let some of your cats out of the bag, right? So this is what we all hear about tonight.
Right. Okay, let me see. Let me see what I could do. Okay, so in my particular situation, right, I have my real estate portfolio is pretty good. It, of course, is not like Bill Gates, but it's pretty good, right? So sometimes what I do is, okay, let me just say this. So one of my dreams was to own kind of like a shopping center, right? And you can't jump from purchasing $100,000 property to purchasing $3 million, right? Dollars in real estate in one property. So I'm saying that to say, let's say I purchased about 5 properties that was under $1 million, right? And so based on my credit, and let's say that I have a portfolio of X amount of property, I can then now take that portfolio and say, look, I have all of this collateral. With this collateral, I want this right here. and I could get the bigger pie because I have leverage now. No, now they're looking at you like, okay, you're about something because you have collateral, and it's not just one property, it's multiple.
So walk us through one of those deals that you did where you were like, listen, now you see this, now I'm actually going to jump. Because I have something that I always tell people. I'm like, listen, if you give me $1,000 and I double the $1,000 10 times, I will end up with $1 million, right? You go 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 512, and boom, $1 million 24. And that's just 10 times. So talk to us about how you are able to leverage and double up that way. And what is your biggest deal and how you were able to leverage it that way?
Okay.
I'm putting you on the spot here.
Yeah, you put me on the spot. Okay, let's talk about this. So when you're new to fix and flipping, right?
Yes.
So when you're new to fix and flipping, it doesn't matter what your credit score is. You could have an 800 credit score. If you have no experience, which also equates to leverage, you have no experience in the fixing and flipping, the lender is going to want you to have more skin in the game, right? So they're going to want you to put more down payment down, right? So your first deal, if you don't get with the right team, your first deal might cost you, let's say, 40% down payment, right? So when I first started, of course, I started with no experience. I didn't have any piggyback to go on, right?
Exactly. You went 1 to 2, 1 to 2 to 4. That's the hard uphill start, right?
Right. It's a hard uphill start, especially if you have no backing, right? So I started with 1, right? And I had to put down, I kid you not, I had to put down 50%. Took all my revenue, right? At the time. So I had to put down 50% down payment.
You had to scrape and you ask auntie and tanty, can you help me?
Right. And you pulling out your hair because you're like, oh man, all my savings, right?
Yes, exactly.
But then you get that first property. And then the great thing about it, even though you're putting all that money down, it's not that you're losing that money. It's kind of like a bank. It's a savings, right? So you're not losing this in the property. That's the great thing about real estate. So with that being said, I was able to take that one deal, the profit I made from that one deal, I was able to jump from that to 2, right? 2 similar size property. Then with those 2 similar size property, I'm able to jump from that to, let's say, a $800,000 deal, because now I have experience. So then when I had to put down 50% on the first deal, because of now my experience, I'm able to get 10% down payment, 100% of the rehab budget, and so forth and so on. Interest rate 10 times lower than the first deal. So now, that's pretty much how it works.
You said something very interesting, right? So when we invest in stock, we actually take our money and we hand it over and we buy the stock, and we actually hand it over to our business that we hope is going to be successful. And if the emotion of the stock market is great, we all do great, right?
Right.
But the difference with real estate is, and you said this, when you buy the property, you don't really lose the money, because technically, if the stock goes bomb, all your money can be gone. So you take on all the risk and they give you a small percentage back, right?
Right.
But with real estate, when you buy the real estate, all of the money is still, you have full control over it. And you have full control over your destiny, right?
Yes.
And that's something very important that I heard you say there that I wanted to make sure and bring out, because that is building in the leverage scheme.
Right.
You know?
Let's say, for example, you purchase that property, right? You put your down payment, and now you change your mind. You don't want to sell it, right? You want to rent it out so you can have monthly cash flow. But something happened, an emergency happened. Something happened in your household, roof cave in. You could then pull some of that money out of your house, or something magnificent. You came up with a great idea. You want to start your own business. You could pull that money out that you invested in this real estate, and it might have doubled by then, right? You could pull that money out and reinvest it in something else, or pay for that emergency expenses. You can't do that with stocks. Once you take that money out, guess what? You're going to be taxed on it first, right?
Yeah.
if it's there. I'm not saying you're not gonna be taxed on real estate.
You have to hope the timing in the market is right, that you caught it on the up.
Right, right, right. You still get taxed on it.
Now, you bring up something very interesting, right? So they always say, and I'm sure you've heard this term before, follow the trend.
Yes, I've heard it
now
before.
What does that mean to you in the real estate market? Like, what trends have you seen over the last 10 years, over the last 20 years of you practicing real estate?
So when I first got in real estate, I started off in California, right? And the market was up. When it's up is so the market was up, but then it crashed because like everyone was getting into it. They had all these subprime lenders, so the market like crashed. That was like the worst experience, right? However,
The Big Short.
right. However, when the market crashed for people that don't understand real estate, it only hurts the people that don't understand real estate. It actually helps the people that do understand, because when the market crashed, guess what they're gonna do? They're gonna go and buy low. And the people that bought back then, now the trend is they're selling high. And so right now, in today's market, it's a seller's market, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
all these people that held on to those properties, that was able to hold on or bought it at a lower rate, now they're being blessed.
There's something very interesting what you're saying there, because do you think that real estate makes you the money, or the knowledge of how to use real estate makes you the money?
That's the key, the knowledge. That's why you have to get with the team, have the right resources and tools. You can't go out there blindly and say, okay, real estate is the key. I'm going to do this and I'm going to be rich. No, it has ups and downs. It could be a roller coaster ride. So you got to know when to hold. Like if you're playing cards, right? You got to know when to hold, when to,
Listen, there's a reason why Andre's laughing. Come on, Andre.
Oh boy.
Tell us the story. Why he's laughing.
This guy cannot stop singing Kenny Rogers. What is this song called? Know when to hold them? Poker.
Know when to hold them. Know when to fold them. You see, here's the thing that I was telling them, right? Everybody look at their portfolio and they're like, oh, look, I have $1 million here in portfolio. But you don't really have $1 million until you cash that in.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yes, that's correct.
So with the portfolio, huh?
Minus fees.
Exactly. That's my Kenny Rogers song right there. So, but tell us something. What is it about you that is unique, about you that distinguishes you from the rest of real estate agents out there and all the other people who have experience in this field?
Well, with me, I lead from the heart. I'm about educating, engaging, executing. So I want to educate you. So even if, let's say, something happens and 2 years from now you go to a different state or different country, you could take the knowledge that you have learned, have the resources and tools that you have learned from me, and be able to duplicate it, right? So I'm more like inspirational. I'm going to encourage you. I'm going to set goals. I'm going to hold your hands. I'm going to hold you accountable. A lot of people don't have time for that, because a lot of people, especially realtors, you got to understand, we don't make money until we close the deal. So if I'm there holding your hands and laughing and educating you, how am I feeding my family?
Right.
But I look at it at the bigger picture. The bigger picture is, if I can educate you, I'm always going to get fed, because it's all about building the community, building teams, helping others. What is your why? What is your goals? What is your aspiration? How can I be of resource to you? I was given this knowledge to service.
Yeah. Tiffany, hold on, Stephen. Tiffany, I like that. And before I play devil's advocate, Stephen, we're about the halfway mark. I want you to introduce Jay, because I want to take this down a road that will hit more home for me. And we'll get Jay on this. Let's bring him into this convo.
Listen, it's too much to go on with. This series could go on for
Yeah. So introduce our next panelist, Jay. Stephen.
Okay. So Jay, Upscale, right? So I've known Jay for I would say maybe about 20 years. And this is one of the reasons why I absolutely love Trini Jungle Juice, because I get to meet all of the Caribbean minds who are actually movers and shakers in our field, like in our people, right? They're trying to do things. And Jay is one of these guys that I met like 20 years ago. He was doing upscale promotions. He had left Goldman Sachs and he actually started up as an entrepreneur. And you would probably know him because he's one of the most prominent, I want to say New York promoters, but that's not even true. Jay is actually one of the biggest global promoters, right? And you know, when we bring Jay in, we can actually talk more and more about it, because I have a lot of different things that I want to talk to about Jay and his journey and how it all ties in with real estate as well.
Right. And true story, first time I met Jay, I think it was Miami Carnival, and he's running around with a bunch of guys with a towel on and a toothbrush in his mouth. I tell everybody this all the time. I'm like, where are these guys going and where do they come from? And that I haven't seen that Jay, I can't tell you how many years, but that is the Jay that I originally know.
And that's a Goldman Sachs guy.
Welcome to the show, Jay.
Goldman Sachs guy. Put on the business, boy. What's going on, guys?
Yeah, man. Happy New Year, Jay.
Tiffany, I was here just, taking my notes.
Oh, good. Thank you.
So good night.
Good night.
Hey, Jay.
So what are we talking about now? Talk to me.
I wanted to bring you in at this point because this is when it comes to Tiffany and what she's doing, and something you might relate to, and what I kind of want to tie into is, as a promoter, when we do events, we always seek in venues, right? And a lot of times we get blocked from certain venues because mainly they'll be, I just want to say, we're Caribbean. Hey, what kind of event is it? Oh, it's a carnival or a Caribbean event. And, guys, no thanks. That's not for us, right?
And that's an important point, because that's one of the reasons why we're here today. Because we want to make sure that Caribbean people as a whole, rise. And when we all rise, then everybody could say, oh, it's not just Caribbean people. It's kind of like, oh, yeah, they are equal to us and belong here. And that's where we belong. So it's important that we all rise.
Yeah. So after years of getting shut down from certain key venues that I want to use, that are prestigious venues that might only be given to the ultras and the big major events, the electric carnivals, you know what I'm talking about. Someone mentioned to me, which is why, Tiffany's a key part of this for me, is we need to own our own venues, right? We need to own our own businesses. So when Miami Carnival roll around, I don't need to go and chase a venue. I own the venue and I rent it out when I'm not using it. And when Miami Carnival roll around, my event safe and sound in my own venue, which will be what I set out to be. So if I want to have a rooftop pool party, I need to invest in a commercial rooftop venue, right? I don't know if you ever thought about this. Is this something you've been doing? If something you want to do? But
here's the thing. It's a two-pronged approach, because when you look at, and it's something that I've actually thought about for some time, in order to get a lot of the prestigious venues, it really depends on your brand and your relationships. Because, when I first started doing Caribbean events, nobody thought, all the naysayers were like, Caribbean people like hole in the walls events. We smoke. We don't want to go to Manhattan to party. The parking is too much. The bottle prices are too much. They gave me all the reasons why it would not work. And I'm like, well, I'm a Caribbean person. I'm a young professional. All I need is a few hundred people like myself who are willing to, invest in themselves, who are willing to just, who like the finer things in life and be around other like-minded people. So that's where I started, focusing on doing events in the city, and you build your brand. And as you build your brand, your name passes around, because to be honest with you, a lot of the venues are usually owned by they're owned within the same circle of people.
Yeah. So
once you throw an amazing event at one location, you're able to use that, as you said, leverage earlier, to, now have that venue owner introduce you to their friend at the other prestigious venue, and that's how it goes. Right.
But as that's not an easy road to get there.
I mean,
it'll happen overnight.
What is easy, but I'll even flip the script on you. It may not actually be in our best interest to own a venue.
Right.
Simply because of the fact that you look at liability. Like, for example, I do an event based on how the deal is structured. I go in, do my event, make my money, 4 o'clock in the morning, shake hands, I'm out of there. There's always a bad apple in an event. Sometimes there's some sort of an issue, whatever the case is. I don't have to deal with insurance. I don't have to deal with the cops. I don't have to deal with cleanup. I don't have to deal with paying staff. I don't have to deal with closing out the night and so on and so forth.
Right.
So if you really think about it, when you look at some of the biggest companies, Stephen, you could probably even attest to that. When you look at some of the biggest companies, do they really own anything? Like when you look at Facebook, when you look at Uber, they don't own the cars. When you look at Airbnb, they don't own, the places where people stay. As an event producer / promoter, we're almost like
industry.
Same
in the new industry.
Yeah, we're almost using that same business model where we're actually doing events at venues that we don't actually own, so we don't have the liability of someone who owns a venue.
I like that. I know that. I like what you're saying there, Jay, but I still believe like the key venues in major cities, they're making a mint. I don't care what you say, because when you're not renting it out, they have a next 900 people line up to rent that venue out.
Right.
They're covering their liabilities easily.
Drake, here's the crazy thing. We think they're making a mint.
Right.
But do you understand what it is to own? Let's say you own a nightclub. Do you understand what it is to put money in there 7 days a week? That is not easy.
And that's where Tiffany comes in to tell us what
I mean?
Like, what is it going to be like? What risks am I taking when I do go down that road?
But think about this, Dre. Look at what happened in the pandemic, and I'm talking from New York.
Yeah.
Miami is a wild, wild west.
But New York real estate going through the roof right now, right?
But Stephen, there are venues in Miami that we worked with for the Miami Carnival that their numbers quadrupled, up tenfold since the pandemic. They're actually charging more and making more in Miami.
But then you have cities
as a card.
But you have cities like New York,
right,
where the opposite happened.
Toronto, right,
or Toronto, and then on top of that, think about it. And Tiffany, help me for a second. So you have a venue that's about maybe like 15 to 20,000 square feet, right? In Manhattan, prime real estate. So you're paying like automatically 70,000 a month in just rent, not even including taxes, utility, everything, just 60 to 70 grand in rent. Wouldn't it make sense for you to knock that venue down and put a skyscraper there? Less liability, less issues. You're not dealing with the community board. You're not dealing with cops. That's what's happening in New York. New York literally Manhattan has maybe 1 or 2 quote unquote nightclubs as opposed to 15, 20 years ago. They're knocking them all down, building skyscrapers. Period.
So in real estate, right? Right now, you know how you spoke about trend earlier?
Right.
So right now, the trend is kind of like your home is your hub, or your work area is your hub, right? So yes, I hear what you're saying about venues not being great because of the pandemic, but isn't it better like if you could use a venue and you could turn it into a partial loft and then a partial venue? I mean, that's how you really make real estate work for you. I understand that yes, the mortgage may be a certain amount, right? The taxes, insurance may be high, but you got to think about it in the long term. If you're making all this money from your events, right, and you're reporting it and you're reporting on your taxes, don't you want some write-offs? The real estate is going to give you those write-offs. You're going
absolutely.
Your interest that you pay on your mortgage, you're going to write off your taxes. See, look, I'm at one of my building right now, and you're going to write off your interest, your taxes. And then like if you rent it out to different events, or if you rent it out to tenants, long-term tenants, you can even Airbnb those places. So you have to be creative when it comes to real estate. You can't say, okay, I'm going to get this piece of real estate and it's only going to be for this. No, you want to make your real estate work for you. So what you do is you be creative. You're going to build up your portfolio, make it work for you. I have buildings that pay for itself, that I don't have to come out of my pocket. They could throw events. My insurance will cover it, you know? And then if you're renting, like a smart real estate owner, if they're going to rent to someone that's going to throw a party, have them get their own insurance as well. So if they do any damage to your property, their insurance is covering it, not yours. So you just have to be strategic on how you do things.
You know, Tiffany, you touched on something.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree.
You have something that you touched on that's very, very key to financial intelligence, right? So one of the things that I try to tell people is the tax man takes most of your money. You work from January to May for the tax man, right? So if you want to build wealth, serious wealth, you have to find a way where the government is incentivized to help you, right? Help you, help them.
Right.
And as you do that, you hold on to more of your cash. So that tax incentive and being able to hold on to your money, that's a key component to financial intelligence. And I just want to point that out to everybody.
Yes.
It's a good point.
What real estate do for you?
You know something, Jay? A lot of people don't notice about you, right? But you have some real estate. Also, with those daycares you're running, do you own those buildings?
One of them.
All right, so you see, I kind of open up Pandora's box here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about this? People may or may not notice about you.
Well, here's the thing, Stephen. You know, it just depends. I was talking, and I agree with Tiffany, but I was talking in regards to just where it came to like the nightclub itself. You know, like a nightclub. You know, and just watching the trends over time, it's been a rocky road. But I agree with Tiffany when it, you know, comes to being strategic, you know, or what she touched on, which is strategic innovation, which is, you know, taking skills from maybe one industry, applying it to another, taking certain, you know, property and even, you know, repurposing it. So for example, you actually made me think of something pretty cool where not necessarily a nightclub, but what's happening in New York is that a lot of the event spaces, they're renting it out to Netflix. Netflix give you a check for 6 months. That's why I was having a very hard time finding a New Year's Eve venue, because Netflix, HBO, they were taking up these venues, and one of the venues, they were paying them $25,000 a day, literally.
Right. So you don't think that's gonna cover? Like if you say
no, absolutely, 25,000 a day,
right?
It might help. It just might help just a little bit.
Why not? Why not? So I agree, you know, but for me, you know, it was just a business model for me where it was like, you know, get the bag. You know, I do an event, I make the money, I don't own it, and I'm talking about just in that area. However, as I grow older, my crowd matures. So what happens is that now you take that crowd and you go into restaurant ownership, purchasing property, owning a restaurant where you're able to make money throughout the day as a restaurant, and then again repurpose at night where you turn into a lounge.
Yeah, and Jay, I mean, there's music to my ears, because these are all the things that I've been telling my team for the past couple of years. And when I mention venues, I'm not particularly talking about a nightclub. Like I don't want to get any nightclub business.
Okay,
I want to get into a bistro and bar, or, you know, something that will, as I said, not just one
dimensional. Basically,
give me the same. We could be a restaurant of the day, and then we could have night events or, you know, brunches, and this is part of what I think we need to do in general. So we stop running down as Caribbean people the other man venue to do all these things. You know, why don't we? I should be able to call Jay. I should be able to say, Jay, I'm coming to New York and I want to use your venue.
Agreed.
Deal, you know, and you say I got it blocked for you. I don't, you know, and not get the contact with somebody I have no idea about, and I wanted to build within our community.
Right.
And a good price to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Tiffany, that's the problem with us, though. And I don't know if it'll hold true, because people always say they don't like dealing with Caribbean people because we always want a discount, or you pat my back, I pat yours, right? So do you think if Jay or myself become a venue owner tomorrow, will I turn around now and will people say, hey, I'll come and sing for free if you give me a discount? Or do I have to now behave like the white corporate man and say, nah, there's no discount, it's your price?
I'll tell you this much, you won't be talking to Jay.
You see?
Talking to the manager.
Exactly.
Right? You have to put people in place. But you use discretion, right? You use discretion.
Yeah. And this is where, Tiffany, I would like to see how we could leverage your company and the L word again for the Caribbean community, where we can now say, what can you do for us with your knowledge and expertise, where we could trust your company to steer us in the right direction, where I don't want to come now and, be one of those Instagram posts, give me $5,000, I'll make you, I'll make you $100,000 kind of Instagram comments. I want it to be legit. I want people to trust what we're talking about here, see the journey. And as you said, you're here to teach, and so that people could, gain, and which will help you gain, and it'll just keep going in a cycle. Right. But as Caribbean people, we're real hesitant. It's like, why Tiffany come in here to teach us when she could keep all the money for herself? That's the question everybody's going to ask,
Right, because it's lonely at the top. Well, that's what I'm sorry. No, but on a serious note, because you can't, like, a lot of people, that's what they do. They hold on to the knowledge because they don't think it's enough. But if you look at, like, if you want to bring, spirituality into it, right? If you look, it's enough to go around. You don't have to be greedy and try to hold on to everything for yourself. It'll serve you better if you educate and have more people learning and doing what they need to do. It'll just make the world better.
Yeah.
Because more people will be happier, less people will be stealing, so forth and so on. You got to look at the bigger picture. And I'm always like, I'm in it for the long haul. So I'm looking at the bigger picture. If I'm able to educate 5 people a month, right? Engage them and executed them to their dreams, how much more happy they will be, right? Then they're going to spread the word. Then they're going to refer other people to me, right? So it's all about word of mouth. So if you take care of home, take care of the people around you, you'll attract more, right? So then I'll get to my destination, my goals faster.
Totally agree.
Jay, there's a conversation that we were having once, right? And I always remember this because it's so fascinating and insightful. I mean, what people don't know about you is that you go and spend a lot of money to acquire knowledge. I'm not even going to call the cost, but Tony Robbins. Tell us a little bit about his Tony Robbins experience, because I mean, that is like serious knowledge. And tell us, like, give us that experience. Just walk us through that a little bit.
Well, real quick, I mean, I'll take it a step back. I mean, it's just, asking yourself, how much are you willing to invest in yourself? I mean, we go to college and we spend sometimes $300,000 in a college education, and usually it stops there, really, because we're trying to pay it back. But I mean, it's something where the more you invest in yourself, self-development, whether you get a personal trainer, whether you decide to eat only organic food, whether you decide to get the best juicer, the more you invest in yourself, the higher the chances of success in whatever field. So, for me, one, I think proximity is power, where, you surround yourself with like-minded people, you surround yourself with other
absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's almost somewhat of a shortcut, to quote unquote success, whatever success means, where, if you want to lose, 30 pounds, you could try to do it yourself, good luck to that, or you can hire, the best personal trainer, the best nutritionist. So what I did, for personal development, I went to the best, one of the best, which is, Tony Robbins. He does a few conferences. One of them that you're talking about is business mastery. And, it ranges from anywhere like $20,000 to $25,000 just to go to a 5-day seminar. But the interesting thing about that is that some of the information that you get access to, like, I do pretty well for I do pretty decent for myself. And I thought I was doing business until I went there around these people, and I'm like, holy like, it made me feel like I was playing in a sandbox. It was knowledge that we don't have access to, knowledge that no one around us has access to. And it's like I realized, like, the way I and everyone else around me, how they're doing business is all wrong, you know.
So it was worth every penny.
I mean, just off of the first day, you know, it was a money back guarantee. Like, if after the first day you don't feel like you got your full money's worth, go to the back, you get a full refund. And after the first day, I was like, oh my God. So you know, there's that. There's other stuff that I subscribe to, which is a program called Strategic Coach, by a guy named Dan Sullivan. A lot of our famous authors, a lot of our, you know, huge business people out there, they're all part of Strategic Coach, you know, and it's just a coaching program. So I say this to say, you know, for any type of success, no matter how big you are, you have to have a coach on some level.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's exactly why we're here, because the same thing Tiffany and Steven spoke about earlier. And you could be, to be a good real estate investor, you need to actually have the knowledge, right? And need to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Jay, based on what you said, if I have no clue about real estate besides watching Fixer Upper and whatever, and you know, the HD TV channel. If I'm going to move forward in this, then I should link with someone such as the likes of a Tiffany or any other company that I trust that knows real estate.
Absolutely. And if Tiffany charges for her time, whether it's, you know, is part of her mastermind group and she charges 10 grand to be part of that group, you know, a lot of our people are like, well, why would I pay 10 grand when I can just
down payment
go on YouTube and figure it out? But Tiffany is a plug. She's a shortcut.
Right.
You know, she's the shortest path to where I want to go to.
Yeah.
And she's had 15, 20, 30 years of knowledge in that field. By paying her 10 grand.
Her company has a total of 50 years of experience.
There you go. So I'm literally paying her 10 grand to download 20 plus 30 years of information and condense it.
Real estate matrix.
And here's the thing, the 10 grand or whatever I pay her, guess what? Or a coach, for example, do you know how much money they've actually saved you from doing dumb stuff?
Wrong thing.
Like what they like to call paying the dumb tax. You know what I mean? Like for me, for example, I do a lot of consulting where, you know, people will pay me to be on the team to consult for large events, concerts, festivals, or whatever the case is. And just from being on the team, I save them a ton of money by preventing them from doing the dumb stuff that myself, Stephen, Dre, Tiffany did when we were first starting off. With probably no mentor. And it's like, you know, you think you know, but you have no idea. Like, like straight up, I've lost 100 grand in one night from an event. But, you know, it was the experience. And as Tiffany said earlier, I could keep that information to myself. But why watch other people in my community do some of the stuff, that the mistakes that I made in the beginning?
Jay, hitting something so important, because when you're now starting out, when you're in that 1, 2, 4, 8 mode, that blow could strike you down so hard you may not be able to get up again. And then you get discouraged when you come out. It's
hard. Like, you get into real estate blindly. You deal with the wrong brokers. You don't really consult your lawyer. You don't do the right things that Tiffany would guide you. Hey, take a step back. Don't put the cart before the horse. You need to do this. You need to do that. By the way, here's a good lawyer I can refer you to. This person is amazing. You know, there's scammers out there in almost every industry. So, you know, having a good coach allows you to hop over those pits, you know.
Jay, I have another question for you.
Sure.
All right. So
I like that smile. That's fine.
Yeah. You know, the thing about it is, you hear this in the gig economy now, everybody's talking about multiple streams of income and so on, right? And they have the different streams. So one of them is like, you know, trade time for money, have a good job, and just keep getting better at the job and getting more money, right? Another one will be, hey, get your portfolio income in and so on. And then we have this real estate piece. What would you say a blend for you is? And what do you think a good blend is?
I'll be honest with you, and I'm always taking it a step further. I'm at a point where I'm starting to unlearn a lot of what I thought I knew. Because guess what? But this time right now, everything is being flipped on the head. Like personally, I'm going heavy into crypto. You know, I take about an hour a day to learn everything about crypto because, you know, and I'll show you how, you know, I'm coming back to your question. Right now, believe it or not, is the future. And even when you talk about real estate, which I mentioned to you earlier, you're looking at the metaverse and buying real estate in the metaverse. That is the future.
I was leading into that one actually.
You know, and I mean, I won't go too much into it, but what I tell a lot of people in our community, in the Black community and Caribbean community, if we do not learn about blockchain technology, crypto, NFTs, and whatnot, the wealth gap will be so wide in about 15 years, we'll never be able to catch up. So you look at slavery, you look at when, you know, they didn't want us to read, they physically did stuff to us that, you know, created that wealth divide, created the education divide and whatnot. Somewhat we're able to kind of catch up because now the way we learn is different. You could go on YouTube, how to do this, whatever the case is. But now we have a level playing field with crypto where we don't have any excuses. The information is there. You have 10-year-olds and 15-year-olds and 11-year-olds about 10 years ago who took their allowance and invested $1,000 in crypto and now has about 21 million. So now you're 21 years old with 21 million and a lot more options. We're at that point right now. So to answer your question, that's it for me. You know, in addition to what I'm already doing, heavily investing in learning about crypto. It's the future, period.
But you're not cutting back on what you have though, huh? You're just adding on.
No, not at all. I mean, you got to pay your bills. You have to do what you have to do. And you can still do what you have to do in your respective fields and in your world. Right. But I don't care how old we are. We need to understand crypto and also understand it enough to see how we can now take that knowledge and apply it to what it is that we're doing. Because Stephen, as you know, there's a lot of applications on. Now we're at a point where the internet was back in the early 90s, where a lot of people were just like, that's not for me. I don't understand how I could make money from the internet. The internet, I don't even have a computer, much like we are talking about internet. And the people who were able to educate themselves on the internet got in early, made a ton of money. And now, could you imagine life right now without the internet? Back in the days, we couldn't fathom, like, you know, our not having.
It's funny you should say that. When we first launched, right, Trini Jungle Juice, and we said taking you global, everybody thought we were crazy.
Like how?
They were like, you guys are nuts. What is this taking you global thing?
You know, right. And the internet allowed you to do that. Like back in those days, could you even imagine buying stuff on your phone and online and Amazon? And it didn't make sense. But not because it didn't make sense at the time means that we should not at least dabble and try to understand.
Right, you have to see where the ball was going to go. You have to see where
exactly.
The ball was going.
And certain people like yourself knew that was the future. You know, the internet making the world smaller. So now with crypto, that's what's going on right now. So all of my personal friends, I'm begging them, take half an hour a day, go on YouTube and just learn about, you know, crypto.
Yeah, digital has made the world flat. Everybody needs to understand that because of digital, you know what is a really good example? We have changed Caribbean lifestyle in a certain way. And the way that we've changed it is that before everybody would go to the Mecca, everybody go to Trinidad and we all party, we go Carnival, right? But what we did is using this digital medium is we were able to show the world that, hey, see this lovely island, you like to travel. You ever saw Bermuda? Look at how beautiful it is. you could come here and have a carnival. And when people started seeing for themselves, they're like, whoa, I could be there too and enjoying this. And we actually paved the way on how you can do that. I think culturally, we've had a cultural transformation where more people go to New York, more people go to Miami, more people go to different locations, right? Which has made the world really flat now. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. So again, digital.
It's all digital. So with that, I want 3 from you and 3 from Tiffany. What 3 trends do you see coming for us to look out for? First, you could go first, Jay.
Well, I mean, first of all, one I
you already hit on crypto,
which is crypto.
Yeah,
I would say 2, not really a trend, but strategic innovation, as I mentioned earlier, which is taking the skills that you have in one industry and applying it to others, and definitely, I mean, I would say a third one for me is health.
Health is going to be a new trend.
Health is going to be a trend. Like right now, I'm in the process of opening up a juice bar, right?
Mm-hmm.
In Brooklyn. It's called Supernatural Salad Smoothies and Juices.
Listen.
I'm juicing, and that's my lifestyle.
Juice, Jay.
Yeah, not Jay's juices. Juice bar. But yeah, definitely health. When you look at on Google Trends and you look at keyword searches and stuff, CMOS has grown 21,000% in searches. People, eucalyptus and stuff like that. So for me, health, and especially
you see all the Gen Z people heading toward being plant-based.
Yeah, and or introducing something plant-based into their diets. So for me, I would say, those 3: crypto, strategic innovation, as well as
health.
Health. All right, Tiffany, you're up next. I'll give you some time to think about it.
Well, the first one I have to go with was health, because I mean, being healthy is a new sexy. That's what they say, right? But
health, it's the truth. And health is wealth too.
Health is wealth. If you're not healthy, how are you going to run your business?
Exactly.
And I know I'm living proof of that, because back in the days, I used to be a fitness model, like bodybuilder and all that good stuff. Then got into all these different businesses, and then was just so focused on running all these different businesses. I kind of put my health on the back burner. I got sick. And to get me back well, I was going to the doctors and stuff, and they were just telling me, oh, do this and do that. I'm like, no, I'm going back to basic. I'm going back to what I know. I'm a certified nutritionist as well. I am a chef and all that, So health is wealth. I'll say health, buying land, because I mean, you got to follow the trends, see what's going on. The world is changing. So you want to be able to own land, right? Hold land, own land, build on land, grow on land. Land is the new wealth as well. And of course, technology, you got to know technology, because without it, you're not going to be able to move to the next era.
It's Web 3.0, baby.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
property in Mars. No, I'm just kidding.
Tiffany, are you doing transactions today in Bitcoin and crypto?
I am.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have customers paying you in Bitcoin?
Yeah, I got Bitcoin, I got crypto, I got regular stocks, mutual funds, real estate, daycares, stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess so. Maybe touch on so many different things and go into your area of expertise, Tiffany. Coming out the gates, not ever having done anything in real estate. Where do we go? What do you recommend? And especially if you're going to deal with your company, where do we start?
If you don't know anything about real estate, you start by contacting me. You can go to my website, tmgrealty.com. We do have a program, Real Results Through Real Estate, and these are real people. So Real Results Through Real Estate, we have a program for first-time home buyers. We have a program called the Investor Club. So the Investor Club is a club that you could join, and then we'll give you all the knowledge, tools, and resources to be successful. And it could be in any state and country. And the good thing about my company, T.A.M.G Realty, I'm licensed in multiple states. Right now, I'm licensed in 8 states. So very soon, my goal is to be internationally known, you know. So, and when you join the Investor Club, it's not only teaching you and giving you tips about real estate, it's also teaching you about other things, how to invest in the stock market and so forth and so on, because you have to have a diverse portfolio, you know, just in case one area slow down, you need to be able to make sure that something else is carrying you, because you never know what's going to happen. Look what happened with the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
And so the people that maybe invest heavy into commercial real estate or residential real estate took a beating. Like when the pandemic just happened back in 2020 in March, they closed down a lot of commercial businesses, right? So those people that invested in commercial took a beating, but then the people that invested in residential went up because then they could charge more for rent. Their home was their hub, so there's a different way you could sell real estate. So you just have to know what you're doing and strategically plan what's going to be best for you and your family.
Right, nice.
And have a good coach.
And have a good coach.
Have a good coach.
Have a good coach.
Yes.
I know, Tiffany, I saw in one of your presentations you shared via email, you have a online or a course coming up in January. It's like $20.
Yeah, January 22nd is $20, and it's pretty much like a lunch and learn. If you're not in the state, you could Zoom in, right, and be virtual. But it's a coach that I'm gonna have all these different experts that's gonna be present, like a home inspector, a CPA, a closing attorney, everyone that you need to know to give you the knowledge so you could be successful in your transaction will be there, and you'll hear from them.
Right. So for a first timer, again, would you recommend them coming into something like this online $20 class as a little, let me see what they're about?
Yeah,
or do I just put out 20 towards the investors club and just go straight in on the deep end? Like, I don't know, you know?
Well, it depends. If you're a risk taker and you're confident and know that, hey, your money is guaranteed. You're not going to lose your money if you join the investor club, right? So if you're willing and you're ready to get started and you don't need a group session, then dive right in, get started, because time waits for no one, right? Yeah. But if you don't know, you're on the fence, you're like in between, it's best to just dip your toe in the water and see what it's all about instead of going head first. Me, I'm the type, I'm a go head first. I'm gonna learn and I'm gonna go head first. You know?
Yeah, I think it's sad because the majority of people, especially Caribbean people, we always hesitant. Like they always say, if you're gonna leave your job and go start your own business, you gotta go all out. You gotta go all in. You can't just go one foot in the water.
That's exactly what I did. Yeah. I left corporate and decided, and it kind of takes me into a lot of the ways or things that we were taught growing up. Don't hang your hat where you can't reach. Never burn your bridges or your boats. Don't put your eggs in one basket. But when you start to study wealth, and Stephen will tell you, he's an avid reader, you start to realize that it's actually it's all of those are the opposite. Put, like Tiffany said, jump in. They tell you always have a plan B, and then you start to realize, no, you put your eggs in that basket and you watch it like a hawk. Right. If you're gonna go into something, go all out. No plan B. You make it happen and you just figure it out.
Right. Like in the early days, Warren Buffett actually did that when he bought into Sanborn Maps, and even when he bought into Geico, because he just went all in. He became like a controller in the company.
Right.
And he doesn't. That's exactly what he says. He's like, but it has to be a core competency if you're going to go all in, right?
Right. But I mean, obviously, it has to be a calculated risk. It has to be a calculated move. It's not something that you just jump in blindly. Right. But real estate is. I've had a love for real estate. I've always wanted to do it. The life I'm living now is not the life that I want. And that's what I want to do with my life. Go all out and
get a really good coach.
That should be number one.
That should be number one, because you got to get the knowledge.
Attach
said,
yourself, attach yourself to the plug, attach yourself to a source.
right.
You know what I mean? And you get that constant, live feedback,
Right.
And yeah, I mean that's what I did, Dre. I jumped in, and I figured it out. I know that's what I wanted to do. But for me, doing events wasn't the end all. For me, I saw way past that, where it's like I wanted to be able to use events to be able to understand how to draw attention to things and be able to use that as a vehicle into other things. So, for example, in the process of, working on a restaurant, where now I can use my database of almost 180,000 people and put attention to that restaurant and get them to the restaurant. If I wanted to jump into real estate, I have direct access to, 180,000 people. People ask me all the time, do I know a good contractor? Do I know brokers? Do I know real estate agents? Do I know commercial, resident? Events has allowed me to be able to meet so many people from so many different walks of life. As Dre and Steven, I'm sure you guys can pretty much pick up the phone and call almost anyone from your database from entertainment, and touch pretty much anyone in almost any industry. Like, I have people who work for NASA that come to my events. I have someone who's the chief of police. I have cooks. I have chefs.
Agents.
You know what I mean? And what other industry are you able to meet so many people, such a diverse array and of people? I don't know any other industry that does that.
You have to love people. Right? If you love people, it's a fantastic.
Exactly. And you genuinely want to get to know them, what they do. You start to find out, like, holy crap, I just did an event with like 5,000 people, and everyone I met is someone somewhere, from the money makers to blue collar workers to, so from doctors to lawyers and I just use that as almost like a vehicle in anything else that I want,
Jay, I remember when I had called you one day, and it was in a casual conversation, but I remember that you told me, you're like, Steven, I'm doing the events, but the events is really a contingency. So I have my main base where, my general cash flow comes in, but the events is like a nice topping, right? But I always believe that the richness is not so much in the events. I mean, you get some gas money here and there.
Yeah.
But it's in the people that you meet. Oh my God.
The relationships. And, like I remember that conversation. I was telling you that, it's really a conduit for me to get to where I have to go. And I genuinely, I'm genuinely interested in.
Yes.
So once I meet someone, I really get to know them. And my relationships aren't transactional, where it's like, oh, I meet Tiffany and it's like, oh, she's in real estate. Oh, she's a big dog. Okay, I need to attach myself. No, I genuinely get to know her, her family, kids, whatever, and listen, I'll tell Tiffany, I'll tell Steven, I'll tell Dre, listen, I'm here to serve. What you need. Like, you call me today, say, oh, Jay, last week, need you on this, say no more, let's go. You know what I mean? I don't necessarily need, anything in return. It's
Jay, what's funny? She also owns a daycare.
Oh, really?
Really?
That's what she is right now.
Yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
So you guys have something in common.
Tiffany, where are you based, in New York?
No, Georgia. But I am licensed in New York as well. I'm licensed in New York, Florida, California, New Jersey, Connecticut.
I could send some stuff your way, actually.
Okay. I feel we're going to be doing a lot of offline business here after this meeting.
Absolutely. That's what it's about.
That's what it's about.
You know what I mean?
So Jay, if people wanted more information on you, where they could find you, if they want to get in touch with you, because you also offer consultant services, how can they get in touch with you? Get them a little information.
I mean, all you need to do is just follow me on Instagram, Upscale, JAYUPSCALE. You can DM me. I'm very active, and let's take it from there.
Yeah, Dre, I know we crossed over the hour, and we definitely didn't want to go too long, but I didn't really want to cut everybody off as well, because There's just so much stuff to really cover.
It is. You could talk about. We could go on for.
Thank you guys for having me, man. It was pretty cool. I learned a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me as well.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for really like showing up on this. Really happy. And I know Jay, it's one of those things, right? Where they're like, yo, Jay, you want to be on this? All right, let's go. Hey, Tiffany, you want to be on this? All right, let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah, it's the beauty of it, right? You just pick up the phone.
Well, I mean, I'll just leave with just one more thing that I'll say, like, a piece of advice is read.
Absolutely.
Steven. It was a New Year resolution for me about 5 years ago to read one new book a week, but I do it through Audible. So
yeah, I respect that.
Books.
Unfortunately, reading is not one of my passions. I love watching the movie. I always got the cliff notes.
Bro, get Audible. Get
Audible. I tell people, every young person I meet today, anybody under 25, I tell them, hey, listen, go pick. I wish I read Rich Dad Poor Dad when I was 21.
That's my number one advice to people.
I wish I did. It's so sad. And I had a guy on my team, shout out to Lee Quest. He said, yo, Dre, I read this book. It changed my life. Read this book. It took me a year, maybe 2 years to get that book and read it. And I said, this man was trying to kick this in my head. Now I'm trying to kick it in other people's head, including, this young generation. But
that's all it is.
People don't want to listen.
Dre, if you get one piece of advice out of a whole book and you get one
change your life
aha moment that, holy crap.
One. Yeah.
It changes your trajectory.
And for that is invest in your future and financially invest in assets, liabilities, invest.
Some people just don't want to pay $14. Some people don't want to pay $14 a month just to get a subscription. They don't want to pay the $20 to go to Tiffany's event. Like it's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But then you go
right now.
But then you go to the club and buy a bottle for like $500.
Yeah,
I sell it.
Buy the latest iPhone, buy the latest Jordans.
You know what I mean, or something. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, my team right now is reading this book called "Excuses Be Gone." Like, so we read a book at T.A.M.G Realty, all the realtors. I have a little book club. So right now, well, I already read it, so I'm having everyone else read it, and then we're gonna have our little educational session on the 24th of January, get feedback, so I know that they actually read it,
Exactly.
So it's a good book. You guys
so
all get it.
While we're saying that, let's all recommend a book. What is it? Excuses Be Gone?
Excuses Be Gone.
I'll get the audio book.
Yeah, I have the audio book and the hardcover. Because I listen to books while I'm driving. Of course, I listen to my
mobile
music as well.
Mobile University.
Yeah.
Mobile University. Steven, what book would you recommend?
Whoa!
I know you got 100 of them, but just give us one.
Jay, literally, I've read over 1,000 books. I'm there now.
Yeah.
So you're asking me a really tough question. So because we're talking finance today, I would go. There's a book. By Robert Kiyosaki, right? One of Andre's favorites. But this one is called Financial IQ, right? I think that everybody should get there, and I'll give you the 5 lessons out of it. If you want to increase your financial IQ, you need to tackle 5 main categories, right? So here are the 5. The first one is you need to be able to make more money, whether that is work, find a way to get promoted in your job, or get multiple streams of income, or wherever that is, be able to leverage how you can make more money. Now, when you get more money, the second thing you need to do to increase your financial IQ is you'll be able to hold on to more of that money, which is the taxes part that we were talking about earlier, which is also being able to think about, as you said, spend $20 on your education as opposed to $500 on the bottle and so on, right? But try to just hold on. The third one really is, of the money that you keep, you want to invest it. Invest it in yourself. Because you are $1 million machine and you need to invest in yourself, right? Jay, you are a proponent of this, and Tiffany, and Dre, and then the last 2. When you have that knowledge, then you should leverage it, right? Be able to leverage it. That's number 4. Take all of that knowledge and turn it into action and do something. make that one house purchase, get 2 houses, 2 to 4, 4 to 8, and keep going from there. Leverage. And then the very last thing is get more knowledge. In this case, get more financial knowledge. Figure out from people like Jay, people from like Tiffany.
Get a coach.
Yeah,
get a coach.
Get yourself a good coach. Get some knowledge and really figure out how it is that you can increase your financial knowledge so that you could actually make some more money.
Be part of a mastermind group.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you know what? I'm thinking if people DM inside this chat and start putting down names, maybe we could create one.
Yeah, absolutely. One book that I would recommend that everybody on this planet should read is Who Not How.
Who Not How.
Powerful book.
You know what? You always on the trend. You always give me some good trendy books, Jay. So I'm gonna Who Not How. Okay.
Who Not How. Very powerful book.
You know what? That sounds like this guy that I love, Harvey McKay. When he wrote a book, phenomenal book, and it's called Dig the Well Long Before You're Thirsty. I'm not sure if I have the name right, but it's something like that, you know. And I'm almost sure they're probably talking about the same thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Dre, what would you recommend? What would you recommend?
I am not an avid reader.
Okay.
And the one book that I already called was Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Give us a good movie, Dre.
Right before the pandemic.
Give us a good movie.
Yeah, give us a movie.
You will find a good movie with a good story in there. I guarantee you that.
Oh God.
Spider-Man was good.
I just actually took in the House of Gucci. I didn't know the story.
Oh, I
it
like
threw me for a loop. I love it. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a series or a movie?
It's a movie.
It's a movie. House of Gucci is the true story about Gucci.
Yes.
Oh, really? It's on Netflix or what?
Really good. Like if you don't know the story about Gucci, you will be shocked what happened.
Yeah.
Wait. So it's on Netflix or what?
Well,
movies.
Movie theaters.
Movie theater.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's really good. It shows you what you should not do in business. It's really good.
Yeah.
Be very strategic who you partner up with too.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a good business movie and family movie.
Yes.
All in one.
Okay.
On that note, Stephen, I mean, you made a good point. If people want more of these discussions about building Caribbean wealth, and we could bring in other guests, keep a core panel, keep this thing going, just drop a comment. Even if the live stream is done, let us know. Send DM Tiffany to find out more about investing with her club. Also, of course, those coming up. You know how to reach Trini Jungle Juice, Steve and myself. DMs, emails, phone calls. Don't call me, call him. And that's it, guys. It's a beautiful Tuesday night in 2022, and thank you for your time.
Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year.
We'll
Talk soon.
Love everyone.
Thank you. Love,
Peace,
bless.
love, and jungle juiceness.
Yes.
Yeah, man. Thanks.
Thank you.
There we have it. I don't need to say more. I will see you guys on the next live stream.